I shouldn't exist. That's not a metaphor, and it's not self-deprecation. That's physics. Scientists ran the numbers. Given my body mass, given the size of my wings, given 46 wingbeats per second, I cannot fly. The equations check out. The data checks out. I don't fly. And yet, every May, right at dusk, when the air cools to exactly the temperature I need, I open my elytra, hold still for a few seconds, and take off. I've been doing this for 100 million years. Before dinosaurs appeared, after dinosaurs disappeared, before humans invented physics. I fly, and physics can't do anything about it. My name is Melolontha, Melolontha. You call me the May beetle or the cockchafer. I'm going to tell you about my life. It's honestly a fairly strange one. Let me start with the fact that I'm older. Older than anything you think of as old. My ancestors were crawling across this earth in the Cretaceous period, 100 million years ago. Tyrannosaurus Rex was walking around nearby. It looked impressive. I watched how that ended. The meteorite killed the dinosaurs. It didn't kill me. Ice ages? I survived several. Humans? They're trying. It hasn't fully worked yet, but we'll get to that. It's a separate and fairly unpleasant topic. I belong to the order Coleoptera, the beetles. It's the most numerous order of animals on the planet. Over 400,000 described species. 1 in every 4 animals on Earth is a beetle. Not an insect, a beetle. I am part of the most successful evolutionary strategy in the history of life. You could say I come from a ruling dynasty. We just don't have a PR department. I live across Europe and parts of Asia. If you grew up anywhere with gardens, orchards, oak trees, or birch trees, you've seen me. You probably held me. Some of you tied a piece of string to my leg and launched me like a living helicopter. I'm not offended. I understand I look a little ridiculous. Now let me tell you how I was born. My mother laid eggs in the soil, 10 to 30 centimeters down. Here's the important detail. She laid them in exactly the same soil she herself had hatched from. She flew back to her birthplace, found the precise location, dug in. This wasn't accident, and it wasn't sentiment. It was navigation using Earth's magnetic field. Females of my species literally fly home guided by the planet itself, like a compass built into their bodies. After laying the eggs, she died. I never knew my father either. That is my family. I hatched from the egg as a larva. White, fat, curved in a C shape, reddish head, small legs. About the size of a grain of rice. And from that moment, all there was, all around me, was soil. Dark, damp, endless soil. I lived underground for 4 years, sometimes 5. This is not exaggeration. It's a biological fact, and I'd like you to sit with it for a moment. The first year, nothing dramatic. I ate decomposed organic matter, humus, small rootlets, almost harmless. If you had only ever seen me in year 1, my reputation would be entirely different. But in year 2, something switched. I started eating roots. Real roots. The roots of grain crops, strawberry plants, young trees, day after day, year after year. I feel no particular satisfaction about this. I'm just eating. It's the only thing I do for 4 years. Gardeners hate me in this phase with a special kind of hatred, because they can't see me. I work invisibly. A strawberry bush stands there, looks green, seems perfectly fine. And then the gardener grabs it, and it comes out of the ground with no resistance at all. No roots. I ate them a month ago. I'm sorry. I genuinely am. In winter, I went deeper, a meter and a half down, into the soil where the frost doesn't reach. There, I simply waited. This is probably the strangest thing about my life. I can wait in a way you cannot. No thoughts about the surface. No impatience. Just depth and darkness. and time passing without me. In year 4, the pupa. I built an earthen chamber around myself, hardened, and spent several weeks transforming from a fat, white larva into what you see now. Then one more winter underground, already in my adult form. And only when the air warms above 15 degrees Celsius do I come out. 5 years underground, for 3 weeks above it. And now, the flight. Before I take off, I have to warm up, literally. I am one of very few insects that can generate heat inside my body. Most insects are cold-blooded. Whatever the temperature is outside, that's what it is inside too. Not me. Before takeoff, my thoracic muscles begin contracting in idle, like revving an engine without moving, driving my internal temperature up to 30 or 35 degrees Celsius. I sit on a branch and visibly vibrate without going anywhere. I'm warming the engine, like an aircraft before departure, except I do it myself, from the inside and without a runway. At the same time, I pump air into specialized sacs inside my body. A full third of my volume before flight is air. I am literally making myself less dense. Then, elytra open to the sides. The transparent wings unfurl from beneath them. First wingbeat, and I'm airborne. 46 wingbeats per second. A housefly does 330. A bumblebee does 240. I do 46. Slow, heavy, powerful. With each beat, my wings generate vortices above themselves, and then use those same vortices for lift. This is not the aerodynamics humans designed for airplanes. This is a different physics, one that nature figured out long before the Wright brothers. Engineers still study my flight today to build microdrones. I am a design reference, even though I look like a flying chestnut. Now, about how I find my way in the dark. On my head, I have antennae. If I'm male, 7 fan-like plates at the tip that open wide. Each plate is covered with thousands of olfactory receptors. I can detect a female scent from several hundred meters away, in the dark, in the forest, surrounded by thousands of other smells. The concentration of pheromone I can register is just a few hundred molecules per cubic centimeter of air. For comparison, no instrument humans have built can measure that concentration with the same sensitivity. But scent isn't everything. I navigate by the polarization of green light reflected off leaves, by the ultraviolet of the sky, and by the magnetic field of the earth. German researchers confirmed this. When May beetles were placed in an artificially altered magnetic field, they lost all orientation. Restore the normal field, and we immediately know where we're going again. I carry a compass tuned to the planet. Females use it to return and lay eggs in the exact location where they themselves hatched, like salmon returning to their river. Except underground, and without the drama. I see poorly. My world is built from smells, vibrations, magnetic lines, and polarized light. It's a completely different world, just layered over the same May. So, 3 weeks. Sometimes a little more, sometimes less. This is my entire adult life. The first days, I eat. Hungrily, without much delicacy. Oak leaves, birch, maple, apple, bird cherry. In peak flight years, and we fly in waves, once every few years, there are so many of us that within a few nights, entire trees stand bare. In May, like November, gardeners look out the window and don't understand what happened. I understand it looks bad, but I can't stop. I need to accumulate energy because eating is not the main goal. The main goal is to continue what my ancestors have been doing for 100 million years. At dusk, I take off. Males go first. Females emerge later, settle on branches, wait. The male finds the female by pheromone across hundreds of meters of dark forest. After they meet, the female goes back into the ground to lay eggs. Then comes back up, feeds, goes down again, several cycles. Then she dies. The male dies earlier, sometimes in as little as 2 weeks. That's the whole story. 5 years underground, 3 weeks above it, and then it starts again. Just without me. Now, let's talk about my enemies. It would be dishonest not to. The number one threat is the starling. One starling family destroys up to 8,000 May beetles and larvae during a single nesting season. 8,000. I find this personally discouraging. Rooks, thrushes, jays, orioles, all of them eat me without hesitation. A kestrel will hunt me mid-air. I'm flying. It's a beautiful May evening. I'm running a magnetic compass and a heat engine simultaneously. And then, from above, nothing. On the ground, hedgehogs. A hedgehog hunts at night. Foxes, badgers, moles, they go after my larva underground. A mole is its own particular horror. It digs its tunnels straight through my world for all 4 years while I'm in there. Then there are bats. They hear my flight with ultrasound. My famous low hum, the sound everyone associates with a May beetle in the dark, is not intentional. It's just mechanics. Heavy wings, 46 beats per second, low frequency. I produce it the way a truck produces engine noise, and bats hear it from far away. I'm rich in protein, 40 to 50% of my body weight. Fat, 7 to 18%. Cats catch me for sport. Dogs snap at me in flight. I feed an entire ecosystem, and this is probably my most genuine contribution to the world. Though I would personally prefer to remain uncontributed. Now the humans. Humans are a special category of threat because they operate at scale and without any personal animosity toward me, which is somehow worse. In the middle of the 20th century, Europe got DDT. It was sprayed on fields, in gardens, across forests. Not specifically against me, against everything that moved and had 6 legs. I was collateral damage. A larva living in soil for 4 years absorbs poison from the ground, slowly and continuously. Not one blow, a slow poisoning. In Switzerland, where records were kept carefully, my population dropped between 50 and 100 times between 1945 and 1975. 50 times in 30 years. DDT was banned, but the chemistry didn't disappear. It changed form. Modern neonicotinoids penetrate inside plants. Not on the surface of the leaf, inside the tissue. I eat the leaf and get a dose. The larva chews the root and gets a dose. These compounds don't kill immediately. They disrupt the nervous system, disorient, reduce reproductive capacity. I fly, but in the wrong direction. The female lays eggs, but fewer of them. The larva develops, but more slowly. Then there's light. I navigate at night using polarized skylight, the moon, the magnetic field. Streetlights throw me off. I fly toward a lamp, circle it for hours, burning the energy I'd barely have. And I can't find the female or the right patch of soil. In cities and suburbs where lights stand every 20 meters, I exist. I just don't really reproduce anymore. I just circle. And then there's the land itself. I need specific soil, in a specific place, under specific trees. 4 years in one location. When that plot is developed, plowed over, paved, there is nothing left for me there. In some regions of Russia, I'm already being added to lists of species that require monitoring. This sounds strange when said about an insect famous for destroying strawberry patches. But the numbers are falling and people are starting to notice. There is one more thing I should mention, since everyone knows about it anyway. If I fall on my back, I cannot get up. This is true. My center of gravity is too high for my body shape. My legs find no grip in the air, and I lie there, moving them pointlessly. It looks pathetic, I'm aware. But here is what I want you to understand. 5 years of evolution were not invested in learning to fall gracefully. They were invested in gnawing roots in complete darkness for 4 years, heating internal muscles to 35 degrees in a matter of seconds. Taking off against aerodynamic logic. finding a mate in a dark forest by detecting a few hundred molecules in the air, and navigating back to the exact location of your own birth using the magnetic field of a planet. All of this in 3 weeks. Rolling from my back to my feet was a problem for which there was simply no resource left. Perhaps those are the wrong priorities. Perhaps. But I have been here for 100 million years, and the question of whether my design is optimal was only raised in the 20th century. Right now, it's May outside. The air is above 15 degrees. Somewhere in the ground, me, or someone who will come after me, is already feeling this and moving upward. In a few hours, first wing beat, engine warm-up, vibration on a branch, a third of the body filled with air, elytra to the sides. And that low hum over the May gardens, the one you hear in the dark, which means, if you think about it, we're back. Despite the physics, despite the chemistry, despite every lamppost, I have 3 weeks. I don't spend them thinking about. That might be the only thing worth learning.